If you ever started to look into what materials and supplies you need for oil painting, then it probably looked something like this. You went into an art store, you started looking through the shelves, and you see rows of paints, rows of brushes, and don't even get started on different mediums out there. This can feel quite overwhelming, but don't worry, because in this video, I'm going to help you by telling you the exact 5 things you need to get started with oil painting, and also importantly, what you don't necessarily need to get straight away. Now, the first tool you need is the oil painting brushes. You need to make sure these are specifically designed to work with oil paints, which they should state. I highly recommend that you get these from a reputable brand such as Dale Rowney or Winsor & Newton. Whatever you do, don't just try to make sure you go and get the cheapest, even if you see what you think is a great deal. Quite often, if you're looking in a budget store, you might see some very discounted art supplies. Quite often, and more often than not, these are very poor quality and you should stay away from these. So make sure you get decent quality brushes from a proper art store. These can either be in a pack or the individual brushes that you see here. The first brush we're going to look at is the filbert brush. This is your perfect all-rounder, which you'll be using quite a lot of the time. The size of the brushes you get will depend on the size of the paintings you're working on. So for a small painting, you want smaller brushes. For a larger painting, you'll want larger brushes. At least for the filbert brush, I would say have a brush around this size, and then also have a smaller one as well. Next we have a flat, which is great to use when you're wanting to paint straight edges. So if you're painting something such as a building, then this is the brush which you would use because it gives you that straight edge. Next we have the fan brush, which is used for a couple of different things, but mostly this is used for blending and also foliage. And finally we have the small detail brush, which is used to add in small details and highlights. Also within this paintbrushes section, I want to include a metal palette knife. This can be used in the painting process, but primarily you're going to be using it for mixing paints. Make sure you get a nice one which is made of metal and flexible, usually with a wooden handle. Next up, well, to do oil painting, you need oil paints. Now the paints I recommend are the Winsor & Newton Winton range. These are basically the gold standard of student grade paints, meaning they're intended for students to oil painting. These come in 2 different sizes. Now the best thing to do is to get a full pack of the smaller size ones which will cover all the colours you need. I would however recommend that you get a larger tube of the titanium white as you'll be using this more often. Now you don't need to get specifically these paints, but I highly recommend that you do. These are essentially the gold standard for people that are learning oil painting. The most important thing you need to avoid, however, is getting poor quality paints. Same as with the brushes, just stay away from poor quality and cheap art supplies in general. You may think you're getting a bargain if you see some cheap supplies in a budget store, but trust me, they won't work how you want them to, and you'll just end up having to go and buy the proper thing anyway. Next, you need something to paint on. Now, when first starting out, I highly recommend these pads of canvas paper. They are much cheaper than painting on canvases, which is ideal when you first start oil painting. If you're looking to paint on a flat table surface rather than buying an easel, then these are a great choice. They are great for practicing your painting work, and then when you want to move on to painting you're going to keep, or maybe hang on the wall, then that's when you move on to a canvas. Alternatively, you could also get a small canvas board, like the one shown here. These are essentially the next step up from canvas paper. They're not quite as expensive as full stretched canvases, but at the same time, they also give you a more sturdy surface to work on over canvas paper. Tool number 4, which is a palette. You need a palette to be able to mix your paints on, and I highly recommend getting one of these paper palettes. They are essentially sheets of waxed paper in a pad, which you use as a palette. These are really great to use because when you're done painting, you can just pull up the sheet and then dispose of it. This means you don't need to go and clean your palette afterwards, which is a great time saver. So the next and final thing that you definitely need are your mediums. These are paint thinners and oils which are used in the painting process as well as to clean your brushes. I recommend using a product called Zest-It in your painting process, which is a solvent-free paint thinner, meaning it's non-toxic and safe to use in your painting. The next thing to add into your medium is the oils. Now, the most popular one is refined linseed oil. Now, there are other ones out there, but for now, I will just stick to this one. It's pretty much what the vast majority of people use. Next, you need a jar to put your medium in. You can either use one like this, or you can use any jar which has contained food once you've cleaned it out. I also recommend using turpentine, which is a toxic paint thinner, so don't use it in the painting process, but it is best at cleaning your brushes. When using this to clean your brushes, it also helps to have some paper towel or an old rag. Now that we've looked at the 5 essential items you need to get started with oil painting, I'd like to take a look at items where it's good to get them eventually, but you don't necessarily need to get them straight away. Then I'll let you know what to stay away from. But first, I'd like to know, have you had this issue where you struggle to know what to buy for oil painting? Let me know in the comments below. Next, let's look at a few items that you don't need to get straight away, especially as a beginner artist. Then we're going to go through the extra additional tool, which may be a great benefit to you as a beginner. So the first item you can avoid getting for now, and this is an easel. Now, easels are fantastic to work on, but when you're first getting started, then it's quite easy to also just work from a table. Downside is you're not going to be able to work on anything large or any proper full-size canvases, but as a beginner, I would say it's probably not the best for you to do that straight away anyway. At first, you're more likely to want to be able to work on smaller paintings, either on a canvas board or on canvas paper. So if you're just wanting to focus on the bare essentials when you're first getting started, then you definitely don't need to get an easel straight away. But I would recommend you getting one at some point. The next item is large stretch canvases. Now, you may think that to work on different oil paintings, you need to work on a large canvas, but that's just not the case. Like I showed you in the items earlier, you can work on canvas paper, you can work on canvas board. These actually come in quite small sizes as well, which are perfect for you to practice, especially when you're first starting out. I would highly recommend this is how you start out. It takes a lot of the pressure off of you, and also it's very budget friendly when you're first buying those initial supplies. Then once you've had a little bit of practice, then it's a great time to go buy an easel, buy large canvases, and work on some projects. Next is you don't need to get lots of different paints and lots of different paint brushes. Actually, I would advise against this. Having said that, this is something which is very easily done. Like I said before, if you walk into any art store, you'll see rows of brushes and rows of paints. I mean, you've got short handles, long handles, all different sizes, all different brush types. It's very easy to do what I did as well, and just think you need to have lots of different brushes and all different paint colours as well, and that's just simply not the case. In fact, it's a lot better if you stick to the basics, at least for the time being. Let's look at some optional extras. First of all, then it's definitely a good idea to have an easel. I know I said you don't need to get one straight away, but if you are wanting to invest a bit more, then it's definitely recommended. But I would probably only get one once you know you definitely want to continue oil painting as a pastime. There's no point investing into it with that and then maybe doing it for a week or two and getting bored or realising it's not for you, or you don't have the time to paint. But if you're definitely interested and want to continue painting, then an easel is one of the best investments you can make. It makes such a large difference. It's also a good idea to have a couple of decent artist pencils and erasers. The reason is that sketching is an important part of oil painting. I myself start the oil painting process by sketching onto the canvas. It's not something you necessarily need, and you can use some painting techniques and at least practice in the beginning without this. But if you're really wanting to take painting seriously, then I would recommend some of these. So just to recap, we've gone through the 5 essential items you need when you first start oil painting. We've also gone through a few items where you don't necessarily need them to get started, especially not straight away. And we've also gone through a few optional extras. Now let's have a look at the extra bonus item, which I think may just be one of the most important on the list. And what is that? Well, that's having access to good and easy to understand learning materials, which is why I've been working on a full beginner's course. When I first started oil painting, I really struggled. I did different courses, I was learning from different books, different YouTube videos, and I just wanted to have one course which not only broke it down in a very simple way, but also made it fun as well. Well, I couldn't find that course, so I started creating it myself. If you're interested to learn more, then please see the link in the description below. Also, you may be interested in my weekly newsletter, where I send out weekly emails with tips and advice on learning how to oil paint, as well as informing you on any new content I posted. If you're interested in that, then please click on the link in the description below. When you sign up to the newsletter, you will also get a free materials guide. And that's it. Those are your essential tools that you need when you first get started with oil painting. I'll leave some links in the description below for these items on Amazon. Just so you know, these are affiliate links, so if you use them, it does support the channel, but you don't have to if you don't want. And there you go. You don't need to get lots of different supplies when you're first starting oil painting. I actually did, but later I realised I didn't need all of those. I just needed some paint, brushes, canvas, all the basics that we went through. You can easily get by with those. And then just look through the optional extras. Like I said, if you've got a little bit of extra in your budget, then buying an easel is going to make a big difference. Not just actually on your painting, but the comfort whilst you're painting as well. If this helped simplify things for you, then don't forget to hit that like button, and please consider subscribing to see my future videos, where I can give you more oil painting tips. And now you know the essential items you need to get started with oil painting, you may be interested in this next video, where I explain why oil paints are the best medium for beginner artists.